Speaking of tough road environments, by the way, Texas is a tough road environment. And Clemson goes to Texas, and they lose that game. And Texas is able to win. And listen, this was going to be a hearty ask from this Clemson team. This is a team that I don't think any of us this year, in particular after they lost that first game to Georgia, any of us thought to ourselves like, yeah, they're definitely going to make a run. So in a lot of ways, this team overachieved to get to this point. Thanks in part to Fran Brown and the Syracuse Orange for beating Miami. They get into that game against SMU. They beat SMU, and they really earned their way into the college football playoff. And you know what? They played that way. They played that way. Of all the road teams, Clemson gave the best performance. Now, it's in part because of their entire program and everybody. And yes, everybody has a role in that, but mainly it's about the quarterbacks. I just told you in the last kind of evaluation of that Ohio State game and Nico Iamaleava with Tennessee, if you can't run the football, your quarterback has to be Superman. Well, in this one in Austin, Clemson could not run the football, and Klubnik basically did turn into Superman. Kade Klubnik is the only reason that Clemson is in that game. At one point in the fourth quarter, it's a one-possession game. They're sitting there on a 4th and goal to try to make it a one-possession game even deep into the fourth quarter. And why? Is because Klubnik was terrific. He was really terrific. And you know what? Like, let's be honest, kind of happy for the guy. He's on a homecoming. He played in the Austin area in high school, and here he is coming back. He's playing against former high school teammates in Michael Taft. He's playing against a former college teammate in Makuba back there who transferred from Clemson. And Klubnik was the reason Clemson is in that game. It's 21-7 at one point. It looks like it's getting away from him, and he just kind of willed his team back into that game. And that's what it takes to be in the game and have a chance on the road against a top 10 opponent. Your quarterback has got to play great, in particular when you're not running the football. And Clemson could not run the football. I'm a big believer in this Texas team. You guys have known that the entirety of the year. Okay, so when I look over at Texas, it was always going to be a tough ask, even with Klubnik playing great, because Texas is an impressive bunch. They, in so many ways, epitomize the style of team that can go win a national championship because they're balanced. Texas can win fistfights. They can win track meets and everything in between. And it's that kind of balance that makes them scary. Now, what they did in this game is that they just won the line of scrimmage over and over and over again. Their defensive line, their offensive line just continued to win the line of scrimmage. It forced the game onto the shoulder of Klubnik, and even though he was great, it was just too much to overcome because the Clemson defense couldn't stop the run at all. Jaden Blue with the huge carry, 77-yard touchdown, bang, right after Clemson is able to make it a one-possession game in the fourth quarter. And so the run game shows up. If you're looking at the run game dominance for Texas, they ran the ball for 292 yards to Clemson's 76. And I know that totals can get wonky because Texas is obviously going to run the football more with a lead than Clemson is trying to come from behind. So you kind of go down to the nitty-gritty and you try to look at per rush. Texas ran the ball for 6.1 yards per carry, Clemson 3.2 yards per carry. It's not enough. It's not enough. If you can't win the line of scrimmage, your quarterback has to be incredible. And then even when he's incredible, you've got to get a stop. And Clemson could not get a stop. This Texas offense had struggled a little bit in the last half of the season. In fact, 4 of their last 7 games, they scored 20 or fewer points. And so my question was going to be about this Texas offense, and namely Quinn Ewers. You remember from the preview episode, I thought to myself, okay, can Texas go out there and score 30-plus points? Now, they did, but I had my doubts coming in. Ewers and his immobility, in particular against Georgia, led to some sacks, and the fact that, they didn't run it great in some of those games, and it was totally different in this one. The offensive line showed up, played fantastic. They were able to run the football, control the game at the line of scrimmage, and when they're able to do that, this team becomes virtually unbeatable because Ewers doesn't have to do anything out of what his ability level is. You see, in the games where Texas struggles running the football, then they struggle because as good as Quinn Ewers is, there's something about the way that his game has progressed during the course of his career. If they don't have a run game, it tends to fall apart, right? If it's just on him throwing the football, there's so much pressure on Sark to scheme guys open because there are not a lot of instances where you just watch Quinn Ewers from the pocket and he's just driving the football down the field in intermediate zones and throwing guys open and just really commanding the passing game, full field reads. What you see a lot of is one-on-ones, scheming guys open into the flats. What I would call is free access throws. A corner is off. You take a free access throw. You throw based on the run ratios, and then you're just flipping out what's called a leverage throw. Like those are where Ewers excels, not when he's just commanding the game from the pocket and he's reading out concepts and throwing guys open. Now, to be fair, that's incredibly difficult to do, and there's not many guys that can do that, in particular at the college level. But when they can't run the football, that's what they need him to do, and that's when things start to fall apart. If they run the football for 290 yards, then this team can win the national championship, because one of the most underrated parts of their team is their defense, which is what made what Klubnik did all the more impressive, because this is a defense that generally doesn't give up that amount of yards. So again, this Texas team, highly, highly impressive. They're balanced. They can win the slugfest. They can win the track meet. That's dangerous. As you kind of press forward for Texas and you look at that matchup with Arizona State, like they should win that matchup. There's no doubt in my mind. They've got to focus on Scadaboo, and he's means everything to Arizona State, because remember, Arizona State also lost their best wide receiver, a guy that was a transfer from Colorado. And so they're down their number one wide receiver. And while they've played fantastic and Kenny Dillingham will have them ready to go, this defense, which in a lot of ways is second only to Ohio State in the entire country, they've got to have their eyes firmly focused on Scadaboo. And then on the offensive side, they have to run the football. Don't let the game fall entirely on the shoulders of Quinn Ewers. If they do that, then they'll win handily over Arizona State. I think it's a good draw for Texas. And right now, I would fully expect them to be playing in the national semifinal. Texas is able to beat Clemson, even though Klubnik was Superman. Thank you for watching the Joel Klatt Show YouTube channel. And if you liked this clip, make sure to like it and subscribe to the channel. And you can stay up to date on all of my college football coverage.